Welcome back, everybody. Please bear with me really quickly throughout this intro. I have a few things I would like to explain before we actually get started in the video. So this is going to be another belt pattern tool along video where I take one of these belt patterns and show you how I would tool it on a piece of leather to make a belt. And so these are actually the belt patterns that I offer on my website, and I actually have a variety of different patterns on sheets like this, and I'll link all of those in the description if you are interested. I also have some other videos where I tool some of the other belt patterns that I offer, and I'll link all of the videos that I mentioned in the description, so if you're interested in any of that, go check it out. But this particular belt pattern sheet is the sunflowers and leopard print belt patterns, and on every sheet that I offer, all three patterns are separate patterns. And so in this video I'm going to be tooling out this bottom sunflower pattern, which I believe is it's fairly simple but still intricate looking, so it's a really neat pattern. And I do actually already have it transferred onto a piece of leather. If you're interested in how I like to transfer these patterns, then I'll link that video. I actually have a full length video covering that, which will be linked in the description as well. But one more thing, I am actually, because I know a lot of you guys are still early on in your leather crafting journey and you're maybe just getting started, you might just have some beginner tools. I do have a lot of higher quality tools that I use often for my main work, but I'm actually going to tool this pattern out heavily with beginner tools. I'm going to incorporate some of my higher quality Berry King tools, but I'm going to mainly use my beginner tools on this as well to show you what it would look like with those early onsets that you may still be using. And so one more thing before we actually start tooling this out, a lot of these belt patterns that I create, as you can see on a sheet of paper, there's only so much you can fit, and that's not the entire length of the belt, so you're going to have to repeat these patterns to get a full layout. And so a lot of these patterns that I create are created with that in mind. And so really quickly I want to show you how these two patterns can be replicated throughout the entire length of a belt. So this middle one right here, I like to use this transfer paper, and once you actually get a layout going and you get to the end right here, if you were to use the method that I like to use, then you would have a pattern like this on transfer paper, and all you have to do is take that pattern just as it is, move it down, and line these two flowers up like so, and then it doesn't break the flow up. You can just continue off of that, and the pattern can then go on and be replicated while not interrupting the flow. So that is how this pattern would be replicated. Similarly, on this bottom pattern, since it all is fairly the same, what you would do is just invert this pattern, come down here and line these flowers up, and then again it doesn't break up the flow. You can just pick right up where you left off. And so that's how these two patterns would be replicated. You might be thinking it's weird that I just have a random leopard print pattern on here, and that's because I thought it would be cool to make a belt with one of these patterns being on the front side of the belt and then that leopard print being along the back side. So that's kind of why I threw it in with this. I think it would make a really neat belt, and I might actually do that one day. But again, we're going to be tooling out this particular pattern, and as you can see on this piece of leather, I actually did go through and pencil in a little bit of an ending vine structure right here on the tip. That's completely optional. You could have just left it be with this flower, but there was a little bit of open space, so I penciled that in. If you were adding initials or a name or something right here on the tip, then you could go ahead and do that too, and then just shift this back. But all of that's completely up to you, but I just wanted to share with you how these two patterns can be replicated. So without me babbling anymore, let's jump right into the video.